Hello everyone, welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you earthquake news, news about a stupid robber in Lancaster, terrorist and refugee news, today's KZGN Talking Points editorial, weather, sports, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. Well, did any of you feel earthquakes today? There's been a few just south of us around Johannesburg. It started with a 3.8 magnitude and was 5 miles deep. That one has been followed by 3 more aftershocks at about 1.8 magnitude and the same depth of 5 miles. So the area south of us is shaking a little bit. Well, in Obama's continuing effort to not listen to the majority of the people in the country, the administration has announced it will let in 85,000 refugees this year. This is in addition to the 10,000 last year. And that the Reuters is reporting the arrest of a Palestinian born in Iraq who entered the United States as a refugee was an Islamic State sympathizer planning to set off bombs at 2 Houston malls, a federal investigator was quoted as telling a U.S. court on Wednesday. U.S. investigators began looking into Omar Faraj Saeed al-Hardan in 2014 and found that he was buying components on eBay to detonate homemade bombs. The Houston Chronicle quoted Herman Whitliff, a Department of Homeland Security special agent, testifying at the federal court hearing. Al-Hardan, 24, pleaded not guilty in the court in Houston to charges he supplied support to Islamic State and lied to U.S. officials. A judge ordered that al-Hardan be held without bail after prosecutors argued he was a flight risk and a danger to the community. He was charged with offering his services and material support to the militant group, according to an indictment unsealed last week. He also faces 2 charges about giving false information to U.S. officials over his ties to Islamic State and being provided weapons training. The most serious charge carries up to a 25-year term in prison. Al-Hardan was granted legal permanent residency status in the United States in August of 2011, though he is not yet a U.S. citizen. In a second related case last week in Sacramento, the U.S. Department of Justice said Oz Mohammed Yonis al-Jayab, 23, who came to the United States in 2012 as a refugee from Syria, was arrested on federal charge of making a false statement involving international terrorism. It was discovered that al-Jayab had gone to actually fight with our enemy in Syria for a time, before returning to the U.S. Officials report that more than 75 U.S. residents allegedly radicalized by Muslim militants have been arrested since 2014. Now how about this stupid would-be robber? Los Angeles County Sheriff's officials say 2 undercover deputies shot and wounded a masked man who allegedly tried to rob them using a BB gun in Lancaster. Lieutenant Victor Lewandowski says the deputies were in an unmarked car when the suspect knocked on the front driver's side window with the gun Tuesday evening. Lewandowski says the deputies, fearing for their lives, shot the suspect through the window. The man managed to run about a block before collapsing. He was then taken to a hospital for surgery. His condition wasn't immediately known early Wednesday, and his name wasn't released. Investigators believe the man intended to rob the deputies. The deputies were not injured in the incident. Just think how our crime rate would be affected if everyone carried a gun and was able to protect themselves from criminals. Now here's a report about the upcoming Republican Women's Meeting from KZGN field reporter Tanya Pyle. Tanya reports that the Ridgecrest Republican Women Federated will have their next luncheon this Friday, January 15th, from noon to 1:30 p.m. in the banquet room at the Clarion Inn. It's located at 901 North China Lake Boulevard. Chip Holloway, Executive Director of the Desert Empire Fairgrounds, will be their guest speaker. Holloway was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and grew up in New Orleans. The cost of the luncheon is $15, and reservations are required. There is still time to make a reservation. To make your reservation, call 760-446-0815. Again, they'll be meeting Friday at noon. In news from the Democratic Club of the High Desert, they're announcing their next meeting. They'll hold their monthly lunch meeting Saturday, January 16th at noon at Charlie's Restaurant. It's located at the Clarion Inn on North China Lake Boulevard as well. The visiting guest speaker shall be Tina Warren, co-owner of Warren Automotive. Tina is the current president of the Ridgecrest Chamber of Commerce and has been very active in community civic and business affairs. Tina will talk about the goals and objectives of the Chamber and some of her favorite programs for 2016. Everyone is welcome to attend. There is no admission fee. Buying your own lunch or a drink is optional. For more information, contact Matthew Alexander, the Democratic Club Press Officer, at 760-382-3878. Again, they'll be meeting this Saturday at noon. And in news from the Sierra Desert Gun Club, they are announcing their basic rifle marksmanship school. The training starts Saturday, January 23rd. The class meets from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. for 10 days, both Saturdays and Sundays, for the first 3 weekends. Then for 4 Sundays. The training is open to all that are 12 years old and over. Training will be held at the Sierra Desert Gun Club Range, which is on the Ridgecrest Gun Range Association facility, 6 miles south of Inyakern on Brown Road. Pre-registration is Saturday, January 16th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the lobby of the Ridgecrest Kerr-McGee Center. The fee is $50 per student. They furnish rifles, .22 ammunition, targets, shooting mats, shooting gloves. For more information, call Robert Gould at 760-446-7475 or Mike Martin at 760-377-5695. Again, registration is this Saturday morning at the Kerr-McGee Center. And also coming real quick now is the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation Dinner. This is a fun evening of guns and entertainment for the benefit of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. This year's annual dinner is Saturday, January 30th, 5 p.m. at Kerr-McGee Center. That's just 2 weeks from now. Pre-sale tickets can be purchased and is encouraged. If you want to attend this event, purchase your tickets now. Contact Gavin Swanson, 760-589-4537, or email him at rc.rmef.tickets@gmail.com. And one final thing. Have you noticed all the Canadian snow geese have once again arrived here in Ridgecrest? We had a viewer send in these videos of them. Here they are at Gateway Park, and more of them at the Kerr-McGee ball fields on South Down Street. Every year they stop by here on their north-south migration. There are thousands of them around the city now. They are kind of neat to see. They are so white, and they do a lot of squawking. Now stay with us for today's KZGN Talking Points editorial when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Now it's time for the 110th KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Here's today's topic. So, Obama blames we the people for Washington gridlock in his State of the Union speech. Well, yesterday I reported on President Obama's last State of the Union speech. And I'll admit it, for me it was very painful. When it ended, I clapped with a sigh of relief. That was his last State of the Union speech. Anyway, already, many fact-check organizations have fact-checked his speech and found up to 10 lies he told. Of course, to be nice, we could just call them little distortions of the truth. But the big one that hit me was when he was discussing his supposed one regret for his presidency. He said that he regretted that he was not able to bring the two sides together more, that there was no willingness to compromise. But have you noticed that it is always him wanting the Republicans to compromise? Not that he was willing to compromise. The definition of compromise is that both sides give in to their position to reach an agreement. But that is not what he sees as compromise. He believes that everyone should just give in to him and his position. But here's where it gets good in his speech. He said that he has talked to many in Congress. Many of them have told him that they are willing to compromise. But if they did, then they would be taken to task by their constituents back home, and maybe even be voted out of office. So, did you catch the main point there? Some congresspeople would be willing to compromise, but they fear our criticism, and maybe we would even vote them out of office. Hello? How quick do they forget? They are our representatives. Our representatives. They are to represent us in Washington. They are not there for their own gain or ideology. They represent us. They ultimately have to represent the majority of their constituents. I know they can't please everyone, but we the people have the right to expect them to represent our thoughts and ideology, not the president's. They are there to fight on our behalf. Now, before anyone starts in on me that our representative can't represent every one of us, I know that. But he or she must represent the majority of their constituency. The president has a 54% disapproval rating. 65% of the people believe the country is headed the wrong direction. Congress hovers around a 10% approval rating. And we are to be blamed for that? Last time I checked, if there is a 65% disapproval of the direction the country is headed, a sane person would reevaluate his performance and try and do better. Instead, this president, in true elitist style, tells us that he knows better than 65% that disapproval and will do what only he and another 35% is the right thing to do. That arrogance will never bring two sides together, Mr. President. And he should look back when this divide took a major hit. It was when he started his push for Obamacare. The Republicans were invited once to the White House to discuss his proposal. Once. When they told him they were not willing to support his proposal as he presented it, that was it. The president offered nothing in compromise. From then on, he and a Democrat-controlled Congress just pushed ahead in what the elitists in Washington felt was the right thing to do. They shoved it down the throats of the Republicans, not even allowing them 72 hours to read the bill before they passed it. Never allowed one amendment. Even some Democrats complained of not having time to read the bill, but none of them voted to stop approval until they read the bill. The president shoved it down their throats too, and in fine blind allegiance to the party, they voted to approve it. That, Mr. President, is what set the tone of a total divide in Congress. That made it worse than it was when you took office. That caused the Democrats to lose control of the House in the next elections. Then the Democrats lost control of the Senate. One man caused that to happen. You, Mr. President. You drew the line in the sand that you were going to do whatever you felt was right. The rest of us could just go to blah blah. That's what caused the major split in our country. Too bad your line in the sand wasn't like your line in the sand when dealing with foreign policy. And since then, he has done nothing to reduce that arrogance, to heal that wound, to heal that divide. It's been his way or the highway. It still is. He has used more major executive orders than any other previous president. And I'm talking about major law-changing executive orders. I'm not talking about the quantity of orders. I'm talking about the content of them. Content that goes around the authority of Congress. He even issued executive orders delaying implementation of certain provisions of his own Obamacare. His illegal executive orders forced the Congress and individual states to take him to court to block his illegal acts. And many of those court challenges have been successful in blocking him. The courts blocked his DREAM Act executive order, and what did he do? He issued another one, expanding the one the courts just blocked. That, Mr. President, is elitism and arrogance at the highest level. Again, to just do what he believes is the right thing to do, not the other 65% of us that don't agree. Compromise isn't even in his dictionary, or if it is, it has to be a different version with a definition of the other 65% that we don't have. No, Mr. President, the divide in Washington and the country is worse because of you. Don't try and blame we the people. Me and the other 65% will not accept your failure as our fault. In conclusion, so the president once again tries to assert that his one major regret isn't even his fault. And it's not Congress's fault either. It's we the people that are the problem. We have the audacity to expect the people we elect to represent our opinions on how government should be run. So I say to you, Mr. President, no, Mr. President, it's all your fault. Don't try and push your failure on we the people. I'm Tom Whitnick, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email them to info@kzgn.net. Now stay with us for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Now here's Lane with the weather.
Thank you, Tom. From the National Weather Service, a winter storm will bring heavy rain to coastal areas of the Pacific Northwest and mountain snow to the Cascades through Thursday night. Meanwhile, an area of low pressure moving across the Midwest will bring a mix of snow, freezing rain, and rain to the Great Lakes, with rain across parts of the southern U.S. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas at 56, Georgia at 58, Arkansas at 63, northern Texas at 65, Arizona at 57, and Los Angeles at 58. And for us locally, tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 41, southwest wind 5 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25. Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 60, west wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Friday night, mostly cloudy with a low around 38, east wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 59, south-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Saturday night, partly cloudy with a low around 38, south wind 5 miles per hour. Sunday, partly sunny with a high near 60, south wind 5 miles per hour. Sunday night, mostly cloudy with a low around 39, south-southeast wind 5 miles per hour. And Martin Luther King Day, partly sunny with a high near 60, west-southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour with gusts as high as 15. And that is your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tom.
Thanks, Lane. And now here's Tom Heck with sports.
Very pleasant Thursday. Early evening to everyone. Last night, Oak Hills High School defeats Burroughs 48-43 in girls varsity basketball. A battle for first place, a very good game. Oak Hills and Burroughs were tied early in the fourth quarter. Oak Hills finally pulled away. Burroughs played a very good game. Madison Schiller, 17 points last night. For Burroughs led all scores. Oak Hills JV defeats Burroughs also. Junior high basketball, Monroe 7th grade boys and girls defeats Charter yesterday. All right, let's talk about the new team coming to L.A., the Rams. Dan Kroenke has paid $2 billion for the facility. He also paid a $560 million moving fee for that. NCAA last night, number 2 Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State. Close game in that one. NFL, the Browns hire Hugh Jackson as their coach, former Pittsburgh assistant. Lawrence Phillips, he was a national champion running back for Nebraska, also played for the Rams and the Giants. Passes away at age 40, took his own life. He was in prison. They found him in his jail cell. All right, talk about the NBA. The Clippers beat the Heat 104-91, 10 games in a row for the Clippers right now. They're hot. Wizards win. The Hornets also win. The Trail Blazers beat the Jazz. The Pelicans over the Kings. The Hornets beat the Hawks 107-84. Hawks are struggling right now. The Knicks, most improved team in the league. They lose to the Nets, though. They had won 4 games in a row. The Nets' 9-game losing streak is over. The Thunder beat Dallas. The Celtics over the Pacers. Also, Houston beats Minnesota. And Denver beats Golden State. Storyline there, only the 3rd loss of the year for Golden State. They've had a great season. 34 wins and 3 losses right now. NHL, the Ducks are a 4-1 winner over the Senators, and the Flyers and Flames also get victories last night in the NHL. Tomorrow night, Friday night, be Burroughs High School boys basketball. The boys will take on Apple Valley. That game starts at 6 o'clock right here. JV boys at 4:30. Junior high basketball today, it'll be St. Anne's and Trona over at Saracoso starting at 4 o'clock. That's your sports for this Thursday. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay with us for Ridgecrest Talk coming up next.